Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 9. We'll start in the very bottom of page 8b. Since today we discuss many subjects, particularly the subject of the time and the time frame, how things happen at a certain time, I would like to zoom in one of the important subjects of today, and I would like to take you to a little bit a different point of departure, and then we understand the connection to our sugya. In the Kabbalistic literature, which it's mainly attributed to the Kabbalah literature of the 13th century, in Provence, in Girona, and later on the Lurianic Kabbalah of the 16th century. There is a concept that is called Torat Hashmitot, meaning number 7 played an important role, and we have the accumulation of 7 times 7, which is the 49 years, the time of the Jubilee. I'd like to zoom particularly with one great rabbi, whose name is Rabbi Avraham Abulafia. Rabbi Abulafia lived at the 13th century, and he was after the well-known time of the Maimonides, Rambam, after even the time of Ramban. Common mistake. He was after the Ramban. And one of his fascinating writing, it's a book, Kabbalist book, that it's called Sefer HaTmuna. How to translate Tmuna obviously is a picture, but we don't mean that. What he dealt was called eclectic Kabbalah, which means he dealt with the point of departure that everything is in the code of the language, of the words. So it's like talking about creation in a sense of cosmology, that we have the 6 days of creation, the 7th day that the Almighty rests. 7, as we said, is a very important number in the Tanakh. 7 times 7 is Jubilee, and more. And since part of the Kabbalistic literature is the Aseret Sfirot, the 10 Sfirot, and he speaks about the existence of altogether 49,000 years, and again, this is not to contradict the traditional idea of the existing world of 57, whatever it is, 78. It's the concept of, it starts with the Sfirat Chesed up to the Sfirat of Malchut, and then the whole world turned to the Sfirah that is called Binah, and then if it's matched with the plan that Rav Abulafia showed, it's basically the Messianic era. At the end of the days, it's the completion of the 49,000, which is the Shnat HaChamishim Elef in that literature. Many experts said that even the great Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi, who lived the 16th century in Sefard, was very influential by the Abulafia Kabbalah, which again is the 13th century. So the difference in general between those who disagree with the Arizal and the Arizal in the interpretation of the Abulafia's teaching, and soon you see how it's applied in our sugya, it's those notion of great Kabbalistic scholars that said that the Tzurat HaShmitot Oved Bechol Mikre, which means the cycle that the Almighty planted of 7 and 7 times 7s, and it's go by the weekly, the year, the monthly, the yearly, the Jubilee, and more. It's the cycle that's set up in heaven and work as a system works regardless. Arizal developed in a way within the Abulafia teaching, which is we have the capability, talui banu, in a sense, if we do the tikkun, if we do the repair of the broken world individually and collectively, we'll be able to expedite, and we have in that sense the power, and it's in our power to change it. And you see much later, when you get close to our days, follow the Arizal, the 18th century, 19th century, 20th century. You go from the student of the Baal Shem Tov, the great founder of the Hasidic movement, the Maggid of Mezrich, the Baal Tanya, the founder of Chabad, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, the founder of the Breslov's teaching, and many others have this continuation of a notion which is Abulafia teaching, follow, meaning Sefer HaTmuna or Avraham Abulafia, follow the teaching of the Arizal and follow the development of the Hasidut teaching. Why it's so important? It's because one of the sugiyot we're going to visit today, which is part in general of the whole sugiya, is Gemara in Sanhedrin. In a way, it's a kind of well-known Gemara. Tana deve Eliyahu 6,000 shana have ha'olam. The world existed 6,000 years. 2,000 Tohu, 2,000 Torah, 2,000 yemot HaMashiach. So it's like the cycle of the 7, as the Rav Abulafia teaches us, and it's divided by 2, 2, 2. So, as we said, that's going to be a fascinating part of our discussion later. Let's start with the very bottom of page AB. Here, we repeat what we studied yesterday, the word of Rabbi Ishmael on behalf of his father, Rabbi Yossi, and explain about the interdynamic that took place between the era of the Roman control, or Romans committed to the loyalty of our people, and the Greeks' time. And previously we learned yesterday that it was Shem Havaya, it was 26 years that the Romans stand in their loyalty to the Jewish people. Altogether, they said that the Roman Empire ruled over Israel 180 years before the Second Temple was destroyed, but it was that period, 180 ותו לא, you mean to say that the Roman Emperor controlled Eretz Israel 180 years only and nothing more? והתנא, we learn Rabbi Yossi Berebi and the Seder Yaakov and others, the Dikdukei Sofrim and others said that Berebi it's expression of tremendous erudition, Torah scholar. It's based on a book called Seder Olam, chapter 30. So he said, we learn on behalf of this great teacher, Rabbi Yosef Berebi, page 9, Malchut Paras Bifnei Habayit 34 Shana. So after the second Beit HaMikdash, the second temple, was built under the leadership of the Persian emperor, and it's important the way that Rashi and others explain to us, even though originally Cyrus, the Persian emperor, allowed the Jewish people to go and made aliyah and go to Israel and build the Beit HaMikdash, eventually he backed out and changed his mind. The whole idea of building the Beit HaMikdash, the way it's described in the book of Ezra, chapter 4, it was after a period of somehow postponing or holding off the structure of building for 18 years. It was a new king, Darius, which again it's argument if it was the son of Achashverosh and Esther or not. But anyway, then Darius was the one who paved the way to allow to build the second Beit HaMikdash that began at that time, which is the 34 years mentioned here. The problem is that if you juxtapose text, for example, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, page 3b, there are some mix between Darius and Cyrus. But anyway, Malchut Paras, the Persian emperor, Bifnei Habayit 34 Shana, 34 years after the temple, the Beit HaMikdash, was built. It means the time that the Persian lost for Alexander Mokdon, Alexander the Great. Now we should know that there is a kind of dispute when you try to juxtapose or learn from the ancient Greeks writing. The historians contributed another 169 years for the Persian emperor, and there is a Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon in Emunot V'Deot and others deal with that, how and what's the difference and if is that possible. But anyway, Malchut Yavan Bifnei Abayit 180 Shana, meaning we assume that's applied to the son of Matityahu, Shimon, the Hashmona'i era. So the idea is that the Greek emperor ruled for 180 years in the presence of the temple. Malchut Hashmona'i Bifnei Abayit 103. The Hashmonean dynasty ruled for 103 years, and eventually Malchut Beit Hordus 103, and then the Herodian dynasty ruled for 103 years. So if you accumulate all those years, you reach together a number of 420 years. Then the temple destroyed. First temple 410 years, second temple 420 years. Both of them destroyed the same day of Tisha B'Av. Mikan va'elach, from this point and forward, tze v'chashov, come and calculate it. Kama shanim achar chorban habayit. Accumulate the years, how many years it happened after the destruction of the temple. There is some kitvei yad, some writing in Munich and others that eliminate the word kama shanim, which makes more sense. Meaning, צא וחשוב 100 שנה אחר חורבן הבית. או צא וחשוב אחר חורבן הבית. So it's a few versions what exactly, but the idea is you calculate it. And the Gemara concluded and said, Al ma matan veshit havu, which means the Rome emperor ruled over Eretz Israel for the period of 206 years. Now obviously you know by now that Shem Havaya, if you take the 26 and reduce from 206 years, what's left? 180. That's what Rav Dimi tells us previously on page 8b, that the Greek rules the period of time, and that rule finished when the Roman and our people joined together and taking over. And therefore, Rabbi Yossi tells us in our Braita here that it was 2 times of leadership or autonomy, depending how we take it, of the Malchut Israel. Once when they are influenced by the Romans, which is following the Greek era, meaning when the Greek lost for the Roman. And then it was basically 206 years. With them you have 103 years of the Hashmonaim, Beit Hashmona'i, and another 103 years of Malchut Beit Hordus, Herodian dynasty. Ve'at amart 180 shana. And you tell me, the way you accumulate, that when the Roman emperor stretched from over Israel and ruled over them, it was 108 years before the temple was destroyed. So that's not a contradiction, because here you said to Rabbi Ishmael, on behalf of Rabbi Yossi, that the time the Romans ruled over Israel was solely 180 years. And apparently it looks like the word of Rabbi Yossi contradicted each other. Ela 27 shnim kamu beheimanuteihu bahadei Yisrael. It was a period of 26 years that the Romans stood faithfully with our people, honoring their agreements. V'lo ishtabdu le, and they did not subjugate the Jewish people. Ve'amtu lehachei, and therefore that's the reason, consequently, that Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Yossi did not included those years when he said it was 108 years before the destruction of the temple. כשפשטה מלכות הרשעה על ישראל, when they have these wicked or even evil Roman emperor stretch forth over Israel and rule over them. So here you see a source of what Rav Dimi tells us earlier, that it was solely 26 periods that the Roman emperor treated our people as partners. Now obviously there is a way more to discuss this, and we're just giving the foundation, and those who have the time, please, there's way more to learn here. Amar Rav Papa, Ita'ei Haitana. Rav Papa said, you know what, if somehow the Tana, which is one who dates the year in reference to the destruction of the temple, forgot and did not details on the day with regard to exactly how much time had passed since the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, which is, he remembered of the century but could not recall the exact decade and year. So he said, I have a very simple solutions for you. You know what you should do? איתי הייתנה ולא יודע פרטי כמה, אבל לשיילי לספרה כמה כתיב, he should take a scribe and he should ask him, the one who writes Gittin, the one who writes permissive note Shitrei Chov, and he spell out the years of the Greek king, and therefore he knew. That's the way Rashi explained. We're going to study Mitzvah Hashem the next daf on page 10, that unlike the minhag that took place in Eretz Israel, that they have the divorce agreements or any promissory note before the destruction, in Babylon you go by the Greek kingdom. Rav Papa that live in Babylon, so he hold by the year of the destruction. And that's the reason why he suggested to go before the scribe. But obviously there are other views. You see in Seder HaKabbalah by the Ravid views, and obviously the whole different interpretation have issue with comparison to a secular historiography of what exactly happened, what years took place. We're just bringing the foundation. Take for example the Ravid speak about Minyan Shtarot, the way that they accumulate notes and promissory note was when Alexander the Great invaded Eretz Israel, and Shimon HaTzadik, as the Gemara in Yoma, page 69, tell us, beg him to leave us alone. So he agreed in a condition that all the new children born named after him, Alexander, and the year should be count from his time. That's the way several מפרשים hold. ונדפה עליו, לשאל לספרי כמה כתיב, ונדפה עליו 20 שנים, and we add 20 years, and then, so for example, if the two last digit of the scribe that go by the Greek is only 15, so he goes by the last two, which is the 35, umashkach lechumra, and obviously he goes by the stringent way. And Rashi here said, לחומרי קשר, כלומר, סכום חשבונו ימצא כהוגן שהמניין הסופר מתחיל ש"פ שנים קודם החורבן, וסימניך So it means in this manner he will find his number, and your mnemonic to remember this is the pasuk v'simanach in Bereshit 31:41, Zeli 20 shana beveitecha. When Yaakov Avinu approached the Lavan, he said to him, I work for you in your house for 20 years. So Tana said to the scribe, I have a amount of 20 years that is not in your account, and that's basically the time that contributed to the time of the destructions. So Rabbeinu Hananel, the Ritva, have a lot to say. We just again going with the foundation. Omar Rav Papa, איתי הייתנה ולא ידע כמה הווה לשי לספרא כמה כתיב ונטפי עלייהו 20 שנים ומשכחת לחומרי וסימניך זה לי 20 שנה בביתך. So that's what Yaakov Avinu said. These 20 years I've been in your house. So that's the time of Churban Abayit. That's, as we said, that's Rabbeinu Hananel. So Rav Papa goes in that way, also the other way around, and he said, Itae Safra, if the scribe is not 100% sure what exactly the year that they count for the Greek kingdom that you use for all these permissive nodes, so even he knew what millennia, the 100 years he is talking about, but he's not sure the exact year. Neshailei letana kama chashiv. So let us ask the Tana how many years or how much time he calculated has passed since the Beit HaMikdash destruction. V'nivtzar minayu 20 shanim, and we reduce from that 20 years, which is the way the structure, umashkach leilech humrei. So again, so by deducing the 20 years, he will find his number because he go by that 20 years from the last two digit, and he goes by the years that they are there. So for example, when the Tana used the year 2, which is 30, the scribe make it 6, which is 10. When the Tana make 2, that it's 10, the Sofer make 5, that is 90. So that's basically the Rashi way of explanation. So even Rav Papa advised the scribe to reduce 20 and the Tana to add 20. Eventually the number will come in the same. Anyway, see in the Rashi here, beautiful explanations. Vesimanich. So again, we use here the mnemonic to remember that the Tana adds 20 years to the date of the scribe, so that the scribe deducts 20 from the number of the Tana. And he says, Safra batzira Tana tosfa'a. In a sense, the scribe deduced, the Tana adds. So that's the phrase in the Tana in Tosefta, which also means to teach that Tosefta, the practice of a Tana. Now, there are obviously few challenges with this. You see in the Pirush Iye Hayam on the Shuta Geonim Sharet Tshuva, Kuf Pei Zayin. Also, you see it in Igeret Rav Shira Gaon. You see it in many Meforshim, Yavetz. Anyway, Tana Devel Eliyahu. Remember our introduction. Now we go to the Braita that you see it also in Gemara in Sanhedrin 97. Sheshet alafim shana havei ha'olam. Again, how you count the years, it's a big story, but the structure the Rashi tells us, and we go by our belief, the traditional Judaism based on the Rashi in Gemara in Sanhedrin 97, is that it was decree from the Almighty that the world should be existed for 6,000 years in conjunction to the 6 days of creation, and the 7th day, the same way as our anthropomorphic way, the Almighty rested, so the same way, the Elef HaShvi'i, the 7th, the world, in a way, in our language again, relaxes. The 6,000 years correspond to the 6th day of the week. You see it, King David in Psalm 90 said, "For 1,000 years you are assigned as but a day that passes." So the 7 millennium correspond, that's Rashi said, to the Shabbat, the day of rest, and it's likewise the time, the rest, that the world do. Shnei alafim tohu. So in that sense, you can go many idea, but in a simple, literal idea, it's you have 2,000 years, or in a way, a waste. The Torah was not given. It's a tohu. You can use the word chaos. Soon you see the calculation Rashi tells us. Shnei alafim Torah, meaning Kivyachol, it's not start of the Mashiach time, it's all the idea of counting the 2 years of the Torah. And some say that it's just corresponding to the previous one, but obviously the Chazon Ish said that that's applied to the Kvi'at ha'alacha ledorot, the rules of the halacha, as the Chazon Ish said in Yoreh Hey, to the future. So as the Gemara in Bava Metzia said in page 86, Rebbe v'Rabbi Natan sof Mishnah, Rav Asher v'Ravina sof Hora'ah, meaning that's the bottom line, that's the end. And then we go to Shnei Alafim Yemot HaMashiach, meaning after the 4,000s, we reach the completion of the exile, the Galut, and then that's the time of Messianic era, and that's the time of the end of the days. Now, obviously, there is a big discussion, you see in Abarbanel, you see in Yad Ramah, many others, how it's going to work with numbers, etc. For example, you see in the Ramban on Bereshit, chapter 2, Pasuk Gimel, as we said, Sefer HaTmunah, Rav Abulafia, is an excellent example what exactly it means. In the Kabbalistic literature, they talk about the era of the din, of lot of judgment. That's the expression of the end of the days. But anyway, ba'avonotenu sherabu, and unfortunately, because of so many mistakes, so many sins, yatz'u mehen ma sheyatz'u mehen. So literally meaning, so the happened whatever happened from them. So the Mashiach not arrived because of the people. That's the way Rashi and others said. But the argument that some said, so how come you see some great rabbis, even the Rambam himself or the Malbim and others give a date? I heard once from the great Rabbi Berl Wein. He explained it's when he takes his grandchildren in a car and they nudging him. Oh, you promised to get to Boston, and said, so we don't see it. And he's just leaving Florida and it's about a day trip. So he told them, don't you see a sign is a Boston? So that's the reason why some rabbis gave a date. So based on this complicated pasuk at the end of Daniel, it's so controversial. What is that numbers means, etc. But the common explanation, which is more leaning to the Pshat by the Maharsha, is from the tzarot, as Reb Nachman Breslov said, from the sadness, from the roots of so many crises, that's part of the Chevlei Mashiach, that's part of the expression of the end of the days. one of the big school of thoughts of the idea of Kabbalah, of Luriani Kabbalah, is trying, the Luriani Kabbalah and others, the fellow tried to show that it's close, getting close. Anyway, 2,000 Torah me'imat. When you count these 2,000 years of Torah, where exactly, from when you counted? Ineima mimatan Torah. If you tell me that that's applied to the time of giving the Torah, so it's a different view how you counted, etc. Rabbi Nusadia Gaon have the Tosfot Rashba and the Ritva, how you go from Adam to Noach and from the other period and how you calculate those years. You see a lot in your Gemaras, in the Mefarshim, in the different charts, and obviously it's above the discussion of the talk. Those who read Hebrew, there is an excellent book called Birkat Kohen, Rav Shmuel Baruch HaKohen Deutsch, that Masechet Erkin, that you have all these numbers and calculations. Ad Hashta, meaning here, which is the end of the Sofa Elef HaRevi'id, Leika Kulei Hai, which is 2,000 years. Why? Dechime Ayant Behu, because if you really examine the calculation, it is evident that from the creation of the world, which we call the current, right, until the giving of the Torah, Trei Alfei Pratei Dehai Alfai Hu Dehavai. So you have here the 2,000 years plus a part of the 3,000, as the Torah was giving at that time. The way they calculate is 2,448 years after the creation of the world. So this will mean that the time of period of Torah is reach to the era of the Messianic era, the end of the days. But as we said, there's a Tosfot Rabbeinu Elchanan, Tosfot Shimon Mishantz, the Ritva, the Marsha. It's a lot of ideas, what exactly and how. And you see sometimes a difference here and there. It's all the same structure. It's the question of counting, and obviously it's above the scope of this discussion, but to get the point, to get the idea. Ella, the time you do not count from the time of giving the Torah, but you're going the time that when Abraham Avinu and his wife Sarah, they have the trip from the land of his birth, and all the people that they accepted or convert, if you want to use, to Judaism, which is Bereshit 12, verse 5. Ve'et hanefesh asher asu becharan, and all the souls that they have gotten in Haran, which is interpreted by the sages, the men and women who brought closer to Torah by Abraham and his wife, each of them independently, separately. Abraham, as the Mefarshim said, Megayer et ha'anashim, Sarah et ha'anashim. Targum Onkelos said, V'yad nafshatana de sha'abidu le'oraita becharan, those who accept the Torah and the its commandment. That's Ve'et HaNefesh that Reish Lakish refer on Sanhedrin 99b. Ugmirei de Avraham beha'i she'ata bar 50 v'tartei ava. We have this tradition that Abraham at that time was 52 years old. So if you accumulate the time of the first man Adam until the birth of Abraham, we reach 1,948 years, which is Abraham was born 1,948 after creation. Don't mix it with the state of Israel, right? And since Abraham began his distribution of Torah to the world when he was 52, and you add it, that's the way 52 plus 1,948, that's you go to the 2,000. Kama betziran mit detanei tana. So here you have the question, how many years are missing from the 2,000 years prior to of the Mashiach, if the period of Torah that was taught by the Tanna, his count was giving the Torah. So they said, 440 ותמניה שנין הווה, which is 2448 from creation, כי מעיין תבע. הנפש אשר עשו בך נתן תורה 440 ותמנה שעה והווה. So you see here that it was 2,000 years from the time that Abraham converted in Haran until the 4,000. אמר רב פאפא, איתה תנא ולא ידע פרטי כמה הווה. Said if the Tana meant to stay of his time such and such years already lost from the 2,000 years and forget did not do the details what exactly how much had passed, לשאל לספרה כמה כתיב. As we said earlier, we should ask the scribe how many years he writes in those dates document, ונתפה עליו 40 ותמנה, and we add 48 years, ומשכח לו לחומרי, and that's the way we solve the issue, and vesimanech, in order to do it in easy, in mnemonic, you should add, page 9b, 48 year, that's the 48 years that was given to the Leviim, the cities, that Sefer HaChinuch in Tafchet said that will return, Mirz Hashem, the end of the days and Mashiach time. So it means, Ve'itai Safra, נשיילי לתנה כמה קטנה, ונבצר מן 48 ומשכח לחומרי, וסימניך ספרה בצירה תנה תוספאה. אמר רב הונא ברד רב יהושע. Now we go by the Churban Abayit, that's the way they counted. So אמר רב הונא ברד רב יהושע, הימן דלא ידע כמה שני בשבוע, הוא עומד, and obviously this is prior to the era of the commuter. The Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, when they have 14 years after they conquered the land of Israel, and the way that Yoshua brought it, so the Gemara in Erchin, page 12b, said that Yoshua stopped counting when they, and then, Yoshua count, but then they stopped counting when it was the time of the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash. You see in Gemara in Erchin 33. So then they start counting when they start building the second one. So if you don't know what exactly the sabbatical year, because of the destruction or the crisis that befall upon our people, נתפי חדשתה ונחשוב כללי ביובלי, you add 1 year to the years after the Churban, meaning לאחר is the key idea, ונחשוב כללי ביובלי ופרטי בשבוע, ונשקול ממעט רב ונשדה הפרטי, ונחשבו לפרטי בשבוע ידע כמה שני בשבוע וסמנך, כי זה שנתיים הרעב בקרב הארץ. אמר רבי חנינא, אחר 400 לחורבן הבית, אם אומר לך אדם, קח שדה שווה 1,000 דינרים בדינר אחד, לא תיקח. Meaning, it's the idea again that we're getting close, and obviously the Abarbanel in the book called Yeshuot Meshicho, in Imrei Tzvi, the Shelah HaKadosh. But I think the sources for all this Gemara and explanation, as we said, is the Sefer HaTmuna, Rabbi Avraham Abulafia. But it's very hard to go by the Pshat. Obviously you see in your translation, in Farshim, the explanations. I think also the Shut Chatam Sofer in Yoredea, in Kuf Lamed Chet, my brother-in-law in his book, Daf al Daf, also expanded on that. How do you get just by literal understanding of the Gemara? But it's all based, as you said in the beginning, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, 97b. The whole idea of Jubilee. That's the way Tosfot here try to say. במתנית התנא אחר 4,231 שנה לבריאת העולם, הוא אומר לך אדם, קח לך שדה שווה 1,000 דינרים בדינר אחד, אל תיקח. מה בניו? איקה בניו תלת שנין, so you have 3 years, דמתנית התפיה תלת שני. That's because the Braita add 3 years, so the year 400 from the destruction of Beit HaMikdash corresponds to the year 4,228 from the creation of the world. So that's the way Rashi said. But as we said, is a diverse of understanding how you take the numbers and how you take the Gemara here, and we just went by the real basic vignette of understanding the Sugiyah.